UFC 324. There was some matchups announced, and this has been kind of polarizing. Mainly, I'll get to the top one. It's the most important. It's Paddy Pimblett versus Justin Gaethje for the interim lightweight championship. Ilia is stepping away for a bit. He's not retiring, but he's just going to be away for a few months. I understand for personal reasons. I don't think it's been made super clear, but that's just he's stepping away. And so we have this fight. Now, the issue is Arman Tsarukyan, who just won, is the clear number one contender and should probably be fighting Ilia. But Ilia's not fighting. Arman just fought. And, would Arman fight again quickly, turn around? Maybe. But you could also just wait. Arman could just wait for Ilia. Or we could do an interim fight later down the road. Or maybe this is more Arman didn't fight for that title that one time and pulled out. So F him. And maybe it's a combination of that. And they're taking two more popular fighters and putting them in here. What do you think?
Yeah, Paddy's on the Dana White privilege list, like, him and Chandler, and Armin's on the shit list,
Sure.
So, which, he put himself on that list, to be fair. Yes. But the UFC's always talked about how they just make the best fights. And Ariel's talked about this recently when talking about this topic, but this is not the best fight. It's a good fight, an exciting fight, but it should not be for an interim title. I think Justin Gaethje kind of forced the UFC's hand a little bit with this, with threatening to retire if he didn't, get a shot. And I guess they give him an interim belt, which who knows what that means.
And part of Justin's reasoning, to be fair to him too, which I don't think that the UFC should have buckled on this, but part to be fair to Justin was, I believe Justin took a short notice fight with Max, right? Right, which he ended up getting knocked out in, but that was a fight he did as a favor.
Yeah, it was. He did that. Yeah, he took a fight when he was next in line for the belt or whatever. He thought he was next in line for the belt after knocking out Poirier, right? And then, unfortunately, he got his nose busted in the first round and got knocked out in the last round. But there is a situation now where we were talking about this before, where there are now 3 belts that are going to be floating around lightweight. Ilia, Max for the BMF belt, and then an interim title. So Dana White talking about how he doesn't want to turn into boxing and doesn't want to have more weight classes because there's too many belts and stuff. We have 3 in one division now in one promotion.
From the integrity of the sport standpoint, it doesn't seem like the best decisions. But I mean, if you go back many years ago, and I haven't heard people talk about this, to be fair, is one of the things UFC was famous for was saying at the time, we make the fights that the fans want to see.
Yeah.
Like we wait all the time for boxing. Now, I mean, you could argue more people would be interested in seeing Paddy and Justin because they're more popular, and this is a fan-friendly fight. Hardcore people right now are getting upset about this again because of the integrity of the sport. To me, it's a balance. Let's put it this way. I agree with the hardcore fans on this one because we don't need this fight. However, it's kind of like one of these things where I'm getting an earlier UFC pay-per-view time. We're getting rid of pay-per-views altogether anyway. I don't have to pay that money anymore. And you're giving me some exciting fights on it. It's one of those rare occasions where it's like, it's not bothering me that much as other people because there's so many good stuff that's coming out of this. But I guess what I'm saying is I understand. I understand where some of the anger is coming from.
I understand as well. I'm with you. Like, as I think of myself as a purist of the sport, and I want the best fights and I want the guys who are the best to be the champions. But at the same time, I'm also really sick of Russian style wrestlers just being the champ. I get they're the best. I understand, but it is not an exciting fight. They don't put on an exciting fight. When luckily these fights are going to be a little bit earlier, but when it's, 1:00 in the morning currently, and there's just someone just laying on top of another person to, squeak out a win. Yes, it's on the other guy to be able to get up and defend that. But I think it's a combat sport. You should have to do damage. So I understand. I'd rather watch Justin Gaethje go out in a shield against Max, or, we know Paddy's going to go for submissions, but he's also willing to engage in a brawl.
Yes,
we know this fight will 100% be more exciting than any fight that Arman puts on ever in his career. And he's on the more exciting side of the Russian wrestler guys. So
yes. And I will say this. A way to fix this probably would be is if Ilia comes back at a certain point, is to still give Arman the title fight. Yeah. And then the interim champion is just basically have a ticket to wait and then cash in their title fight.
Which kind of defeats the point of what an interim title is. But it's happened before, right? Like we've had this issue before.
Yes.
So,
And then the other problem with this card, I think that people are complaining about, and this one I get a little more, is did the bantamweight championship fight between Kayla Harrison and the returning GOAT Amanda Nunes. Spoiler for Patreon talk later, probably want to see, but Amanda Nunes is taking a co-main event position, which is silly because this is an actual title fight. Whereas the other one's an interim title fight. But UFC does have this history, not always, but I would say 95% of the time, they tend to go with the higher weight class as the main event if it's a title fight. And so I think that's all they're doing here. Plus, obviously, I think they're predicting this Justin Gaethje Paddy Pimblett fight is going to pick up a lot of steam and end up being a very exciting fight. That being said, Nunes and Kayla could be two. It's one of those fights we don't know how it's going to play out. If Kayla has her way, I have a feeling it's going to be on the mat a lot, and she'll eventually get a submission too. But yeah, we'll see. But I mean, that being said, again, going back to the integrity of the sport, shouldn't the title fight actually be the main event in this case?
Yeah, I agree 100% with this one. The women, especially where women's MMA is, it's not in its strongest position currently. This is literally the best fight that could be made in women's MMA right now. It's also, like you said, a legitimate title. Amanda Nunes is the greatest of all time, not even close. So why is it below an interim title fight of two guys who neither one are really deserving of a title? No shade to those guys. I think it'll be a great fight, like I said. But Paddy, he's only beaten guys who are like 40 years old, and they're all like 0 for 38 in their last like 7 fights or whatever. Amanda Nunes, she knocked out Cyborg. She knocked out, Ronda. She choked Miesha Tate. These are all like Mount Rushmore people. So
she has 2 wins over Valentina. When Valentina
exactly. Yeah. So it's absolutely ridiculous that fight is not the main event.
Yes. So it'll be interesting. We'll talk more about that as we get closer to UFC 324. Overall, I think we're looking at it as more of a positive with the move to Paramount. But yes,
the card looks great overall as well. Like the entire card, there's a lot of great fights on it.
Excited overall. But yes, it's not without some kinks here that could be worked out.